All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Okay. Okay. President Vido is a little bit sick, so we wish her well. The clerk will now call the attendance.
Councilor Garcia,
Present.
Councilor Vido absent, Councilor Avellaneda, Councilor Rodriguez, Councilor Lopez, Councilor Brown, Councilor Perlatonda, Councilor Tejada,
Present.
Councilor Robinson, Councilor Bishop, and Councilor Recupero. 10 members present. You have a quorum.
All right, do we want to take a recess now?
Now you call recess.
All right, we'll take a recess so that our fire chief can do his swearing in. Like a little gavel?
Members of the City Council, thanks for allowing us to come before you tonight to swear in our three newest probationary firefighters. These firefighters just completed a 10-week training academy sponsored by the Metro Fire Chiefs Association that was run by the Boston Fire Department. This was the first of its kind to take some of the backlog off the wait time at the Mass Fire Academy in Stowe. First, I'm going to call upon Euclides Barahona. Euclides is married. His wife, Natalie Kuha Barahona. He was born in Boston. He resides in Revere. Graduated from high school in Boston. He attended UMass Boston, where he has a Bachelor of Arts degree in mathematics and a Bachelor of Science degree in computer science. He's also a United States Marine Corps vet. Next, Mark Garcia. Mark has a daughter, Samantha Garcia. He was born in Boston. He resides in Chelsea. He attended Dr. Rafael Lopez Landron High School in Guayama, Puerto Rico. He is a U.S. Army veteran. And third, we have Danny Enriquez. Danny is married to his wife, Julia Lippi. He has a daughter, Sophia, a son, Lucas. He also was born in Boston, currently resides in Chelsea. Went to high school at Lynn Classical and attended North Shore Community College, where he has an Associate of Science in Business. He is a United States Air Force veteran. And I now call upon the acting clerk to present the swearing-in oath.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, please. I, Danny Enriquez. Do solemnly swear. And affirm. That I will faithfully. And impartially. Perform all the duties. Incumbent upon me. As a firefighter. For the city of Chelsea. According to the best of my abilities. And understanding. Agreeably. To the rules and regulations. Of the Constitution. And the laws of the Commonwealth. The Charter. And the ordinances of the city of Chelsea. So help me God. Congratulations.
Now we'll have a brief badge pinning ceremony. First, I call upon Euclides Barahona's wife, Natalie. Next, probationary firefighter Mark Garcia will be pinned by his father, Roberto Garcia. And finally, probationary firefighter Danny Enriquez will be pinned by his wife, Julia. Maybe with some help. But maybe with some help. And Sophia.
It's harder than it looks.
That's all right, take it. Once again, thank you for having us. It's always a special occasion to welcome new firefighters to this noble career, and we all wish them a healthy, happy, successful career as Chelsea firefighters. Thank you.
All right, at this point, we'll continue our recess for 5 minutes so you can take pictures if you'd like. I'm trying, man. All right, would all the councilors come back to their seats? Congratulations to all the firefighters. Great job, Mr. Albanese, Chief. Great job. Thank you very much. So we get the resolutions now?
Yeah.
You want to do the first or do the second?
I'll do the
third?
first one, yeah.
Okay. So how do I get this
The
restarted?
chair's now, call everyone back to order. Council is now back to order.
Council is now back to order, please. It's the seniors that are always a pain.
We have memoriams and celebratory resolutions. First resolution introduced by Councilor Brown, all members of the City Council. Whereas Bishop Robert G. Brown is commemorating his 38th anniversary as pastor of the Zion Church Ministries on October 12, 2019, his church family, friends, and congregation from all over have proudly come together to celebrate the services and sacrifices of this outstanding religious servant. We commend him for his steadfast Christian leadership over the years. Whereas it is a testament to the leadership of Bishop Brown as well as to the relationship between him and his congregation that he has been at Zion Church for 39 years and officially is its pastor for 38 years and continues to be an involved and acclaimed member of the City of Everett and its surrounding communities. Not only is he a dynamic pastor and leader of his congregation, but his influence extends to his outreach efforts and service throughout the Commonwealth and beyond. And whereas Bishop Brown firmly believes the church must be a church in action and serves the community through faith and unwavering love under his leadership, Zion Church approves ESL classes for non-English speaking people, community dinner, an annual community in unity block party, and other supportive services for surrounding communities. And whereas this humble man has demonstrated excellence in his calling as a man of God, the members of this council body extend to him and his family our sincerest appreciation. Now therefore be resolved that I, Calvin T. Brown, and all members of the Chelsea City Council do hereby recognize the anniversary of Bishop Robert G. Brown and acknowledge this occasion and express its appreciation and admiration for his 38 years of laboring in God's vineyard.
All right.
He don't want to speak, so he's all set.
He's all set. All right. All right, we had a celebratory resolution introduced by Councilor Cooper and all members of the Chelsea City Council recognizing October as Italian Heritage Month. Resolution. Whereas October is the month that many of Italian heritage celebrate with so many others, Columbus Day parades, and whereas Italian heritage is richly entwined in the history of our country. This heritage did not begin and end with the well-known voyages of Christopher Columbus, but continues to the present day in fields of exploration, science, the arts, literature, as well as businesses and development. And whereas Italians and those of Italian descent have made remarkable contributions to our nation, the list is quite long. American history is replete with citizens of Italian lineage, including the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the formation of the U.S. Constitution. Italians Americans have fought in every war from the Revolutionary War to recent conflicts and have served with distinction, including several Congressional Medal of Honors recipients. Italian Americans were instrumental in building and developing many of our major cities. Italian immigrants built bridges and roads that we use today. Several major U.S. universities have been founded and directed by Italian Americans, and valuable discoveries in science and medicine are credited to those Italian heritage as well. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the members of the Chelsea City Council, declare October as Italian Heritage Month in the year 2019. Chair recognizes Councilor Recupero.
Adopt on the suspension if there's no objection to it and speak on it.
Go right ahead, sir. You got the chair. You got the mic.
Italians have contributed a whole bunch to our nation. They were the first, say, Latins to be in our country, which started it all. By them being here, brought it for the rest of all of us. I'm happy that for Columbus Day now, all the rest of the Latin groups joined on Columbus Day. It's not just the Italians themselves anymore. You go to East Boston and you watch the Columbus Day Parade, you see all native from the Americas, which contribute and are part of it. And that's a great thing, that it's finally begin to understand that it's all the same. Even when the Spaniards came here, half of his ships were of Italian origin. So half of those people that came here were Italians. So who knows? 3/4 of the Hispanics here could be Italians, just like the rest of them, because when they came, they weren't just all Spaniards, they were Italians. So that's a great thing, because we're all Latins. And it's a great thing that all of us recognize not only the Italian contribution, but all the Latin contribution that it's done to our nation. Thank you.
The next resolution introduced by Councilor Robinson and all members of the City Council. Whereas anyone can be a victim of domestic violence regardless of age, sex, ability, ethnicity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, or religion. And whereas children that grow up in violent homes are believed to be abused and neglected at a rate higher than the national average. And whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month provides an excellent opportunity for our community to learn more about preventing domestic violence and to show support for the numerous organizations and individuals providing critical advocacy services and assistance to its victims. Now therefore be resolved that the Chelsea City Council, on behalf of the residents of Chelsea, recognize October 2019 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the city of Chelsea as we work together to eliminate domestic violence from our community.
Adopted unanimously under suspension. And I have a few friends who have been hurt by domestic violence. One was killed, another person whose boyfriend shot her through the door with a shotgun, and she's blind today, but she went on to finish college and get a degree working in the field of domestic violence. So if we can, I'd like to present this to, who? Yeah,
Absolutely, sure.
yeah, after we'd like to present it.
Councilor Brown?
Thank the council for bringing this resolution. As we know, this is the month that they recognize domestic violence. I want to thank President, Executive Director Carew for being here, and also for her wonderful work in our community to try to fight this and combat this. This past week, Metro Credit Union teamed up with some folks, and it was a great gala where they actually had about 500 people together at the hotel over in Somerville, but it was folks from Chelsea, Everett, and I believe Malden, and everyone came together. They had the same passion, the same commitment to try to continue to bring awareness to what is going on. This past week, I was just speaking to Carew. We lost folks out in Worcester, and I believe today in Abington, there was a family that they're indicating that it may have been some domestic violence involved in that, where 4 family members were murdered today. So our hearts goes out. We need to continue to make this awareness. We need to continue to do all we can to support organizations like Harbor Cove and other folks to sponsor events to make sure that we get the message out there that people are in need of support and help when they're trapped in this situation. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
At this point, we will suspend the rules so that we can take some, present the resolution. Let's go take a picture.
You guys want to take a picture? Roy, you want to take a picture? The final resolution is introduced, co-sponsored by Councilor Robertson and Councilor Bishop and all members of the City Council.
Whereas Dr. Skip Atkins, MD, MPH, dedicated his life to the provision of professional clinical health services at the MGH facility in Chelsea. And whereas Dr. Atkins personally treated numerous residents of Chelsea with care and compassion. And whereas Dr. Atkins volunteered many years of service as a member of the Chelsea Board of Health, providing wisdom and insight to public policy decision-making. And whereas Dr. Atkins, inexhaustible energy and generous spirit endeared him to all who were blessed to know him. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Chelsea City Council hereby posthumously bestows upon Dr. Atkins a certificate of merit, and be it further resolved that we, the members of the Chelsea City Council, urge the residents of Chelsea and the entire Commonwealth of Massachusetts to take cognizance of this recognition given the 7th day of October 2019. Councilor Robinson?
Adopt this unanimously under suspension. Council Bishop also is a co-signer
Absolutely.
on this resolution. On Thursday morning, 8 to 10, there'll be a ceremony at Mass General. We will attend, and those of us on the council are welcome to attend. We will present the resolution to him. He was my mother's doctor. I'll let Bobby be able to say a couple words.
Councilor Bishop?
My pleasure to know Dr. Atkins personally, and he was a loving and caring person, as well as a very good doctor who touched hundreds, literally hundreds of people in the Chelsea community, and many of them were shocked by his death at the young age of 70. And we thought he had many good years left. He was the type of guy that would have worked till he was 100. And it's really a shame. It was a tremendous loss to the city and to his family. Thank you.
Okay. All right, at this point, we move to the public speaking section of our meeting. You have 5 minutes. Anybody who'd like to speak in public? The podium is right there. Please state your name and address. Okay, public speaking going once, twice, 3 times. That section is closed. I'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Okay, Councilor accepts and files communication.
Communications from the city manager.
Okay, communications from the city manager.
First communication, traffic management. Dear councilors, I am writing in response to the recent city council order requesting a planning committee be created to facilitate traffic management during construction. There is no denying that there is a lot of construction ongoing in the city right now, including major projects on some of our busiest arteries, such as Everett Avenue, Essex Street, Spruce Street, Marginal Street, William Street, and Beecham Street. The mere fact that this motion was presented suggests that we have not been entirely successful in coordinating the traffic impacts of these many projects. After consulting with our Department of Public Works and Department of Planning and Development, I believe that moving forward, we can do a better job with coordination and, more importantly, communication with our residents about the traffic impacts of these projects. Based upon our internal discussion and in accordance with the City Council's request, we will create and convene a special working group focused on monitoring and coordinating the various construction projects in our city. This group will have a regularly scheduled weekly meeting, most likely on Mondays. The meeting will include representatives from Public Works, Planning and Development, the new 311 office, and Chelsea Police. The goal of each meeting will be to review all open construction permits in the city, with a particular focus on road closures and potential traffic impact to our residents. This weekly meeting will be an opportunity for leaders of our departments to challenge traffic plans and to push contractors to provide alternatives that will benefit our residents. One hope for outcome would be a weekly report that we could publish on our website and social media that identifies for residents where traffic impacts for that week will occur. I do caution, however, that some of the major projects that have the most significant impact on the traffic are controlled and managed by autonomous entities, such as MassDOT and Eversource, over which the city has limited control. Nonetheless, the city will push these entities and advocate for our residents as much as possible to minimize inconvenience. Accept and file.
Accept and file on the suspension. Council Robinson?
Okay.
Do we do the appointments yet?
No, wait a minute. No, they'll go to second meeting. Appointments to boards and commissions. Dear councilors, pursuant to Section 4.2 of the Charter of the City of Chelsea, I'm invited to recommend the following individuals to boards and commissions. For appointment to the Human Rights Commission, Mr. Christian De Jesus Franco, 72 Willow Street, number 3, Chelsea, for a new 3-year term expiring on June 30th, 2022. For appointment to the Human Rights Commission, Mr. Michael Palmer, 28 Woodlawn Ave, Chelsea, to serve the remainder of the term of Mr. Roberto Rodriguez Lugo, who has moved out of the city. Term expires June 30th, 2021. For appointments to the new Chelsea Disability Commission for terms expiring on September 30th of the identified years. Karen Zalea, 18 Carmel Street, Chelsea, 1-year term expiring on September 30th, 2020. Barbara Rivera, 53 Maverick Street, number 1, Chelsea, a 1-year term expiring on September 30th, 2020. Alexander J. Floyd Vargas, 260 Clark Ave, apartment 807, Chelsea, a 1-year term expiring September 30th, 2020. Maureen Cawley, 150 Captains Road, Chelsea, a 2-year term expiring September 30th, 2021. Mary Ann Winship, 62 Beacon Street, Chelsea, a 2-year term expiring September 30, 2021. Barbara J. Bork, 95 Sagamore Ave, Chelsea, a 3-year term expiring September 30, 2022. And Mr. Fidel Martez, Public Works Commissioner and ADA Coordinator, 3-year term expiring on September 30, 2022. Second reading. Robertson.
Seeing none, so move to second reading?
Yeah.
You want to read the next one?
Go ahead.
Notice of waiver intent. Pursuant to the Administrative Code, Section 11202, I'm writing to notify you of my intention to hire Ms. Sharon Rodriguez, 100 Quincy Avenue, Apartment 4, Winthrop, Massachusetts, for the position of ISD Office Manager, and to grant her a waiver from the residency requirement set forth in the Administrative Code, Part 4, Section 11201. Ms. Rodriguez was the superior candidate for this position. Although she lives now in Winthrop, Ms. Rodriguez lived in Chelsea for many years and maintains strong ties to the city. A copy of her resume is attached. In accordance with Section 11202, I request that you provide me with any comments on the proposed waiver within 7 days. Accept and file.
Next communication, request for conflict of interest law exemption. Dear councilors, the school department desires to hire Ms. Mariana Seja as the clerk to the school committee. Ms. Seja has been working at the DPW for the past 2 years, part-time, off and on, as a temporary employee under 20 hours, answering phones and performing other clerical tasks. Because Ms. Seja is an existing municipal employee with a financial interest in this separate matter, she needs an exemption vote by the City Council for the statutory conflict of interest laws in order to accept this job offer. I respectfully request that the City Council approve this exemption. All future work performed by Ms. Seja for the school committee will be outside of her normal hours with the DPW. Ms. Seja meets all statutory requirements for the grant of an exemption. See Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 268A and 20. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Motion?
There'll be something up in the new business, Bob. Accept and file the communication.
Okay, we'll accept and file the communication. There'll be something under new business.
Something under new business.
Can I get that one?
Go ahead, zoning board.
Zoning ordinance amendments. Dear councilors, I'm writing to request a few relative minor amendments to our zoning ordinance to address directly two problems that have come to light in the past few months. These changes provide a remedy for both issues. A draft with the proposed changes is attached. Storage of vehicles. The first issue involves the storage of taxi cabs. Recently, the Licensing Commission has requested that taxi cab companies establish that they are operating in accordance with the city's zoning ordinance, including storing vehicles consistently with the city's table of uses. Unfortunately, although many of these taxi cab companies have been in operation for years, not all have been able to produce occupancy permits for the locations in which they have been historically storing their vehicles. And for certain of these locations, the storage of taxi cabs is prohibited by our current zoning. The Licensing Commission has granted these operations time to get, sorry about that, time to get into compliance with the city's zoning. Unfortunately, under the current zoning scheme, the areas amiable to the use, known as storage of vehicles for hire or return for hire, is very limited. Today, you can only seek this use by special permit in the business district or the airport overlay district. To create some additional opportunities for accommodating this use, I am proposing a change to expand this use by special permit only to the industrial, light industrial, and light industrial 2 districts. This should provide ample opportunity for taxi cab companies to comply with the city's zoning. The new proposal also improves upon the current zoning ordinance by creating an annual definition for the use, which previously was undefined. The Community Improvement Trust Fund, that would be the second issue. The second change is a technical amendment to the Community Improvement Trust Fund. As you may recall, this provision was created several years ago to require a payment to the city in those circumstances where a developer was obtaining zoning relief resulting in an intensity of use. The payment is intended to be tied to the additional relief one obtained, i.e. FAR, height and maximum building coverage, beyond what is allowed in the district by right. Unfortunately, when the ordinances was passed, the language required that the payment be calculated based upon how much the additional relief exceeded what was currently already non-conforming in the district, rather than, as intended, to be calculated based upon how much the relief deviated from what is allowed by right in the district. As a result, in a district with significant existing nonconformities for FAR or FAR, or height or maximum building coverage, the calculation will yield minimal payments to the fund. To correct for this unintended consequence, I have proposed a simple textual change. I respectfully request that the City Council forward these matters to the Planning Board for consideration and then advertise the changes for a public hearing. I will be available to answer any questions that the City Council has about the amendments.
There'll be 2 orders under new business, right? The next communication, quarterly hiring report. Dear councilors, pursuant to the Administrative Code, Section 112.02, I have enclosed the required statistical quarterly report on hiring for the 12-month period from October 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2019. I'll be available to answer any questions.
Accept and file. Accept and file under suspension. Want me to do that?
Go ahead.
Okay. Amendment to Residential Yard Sale Ordinance. Dear councilors, I am writing to request that the City Council consider a minor amendment to our ordinance that addresses residential yard sales. A draft of the order implementing this change is attached. As you may know, our current ordinance allows for any resident to hold up to 5 yard sales per year. There are some restrictions on such sales, including that they cannot be held on consecutive weeks, and they must take place entirely on private property and not spill onto the sidewalks. However, as currently written, the ordinance is difficult to enforce. The ordinance has no provision for requiring any type of permit from or notice to the Licensing Commission for such yard sales. Accordingly, in the absence of required notice or permits, it is impossible for the city to determine if someone is operating such sales on consecutive weeks or exceeding the 5 yard sale annual limit. The purpose of this amendment is simply to ensure that the Licensing Commission has notice of all of these yard sales. Although these residential yard sales will remain exempt from the licensing requirements otherwise applicable to open-air vendors under Article 10 of Chapter 14, residents will need to obtain a permit. This will allow the city to keep track of these residential yard sales and properly enforce the ordinance. I respectfully request that the City Council approve this small regulatory change. Do we have a motion?
There'll be something under new business, right?
Okay, we'll accept and file. There'll be something under new business.
The next communication from the city manager, notice of waiver intent. Dear councilors, pursuant to the Administrative Code, Section 112.02, I am writing to notify you of my intention to hire Mr. John Stavo, 3 Ironwood Street, Billerica, Massachusetts, and Mr. Ronald Taylor, 390 Revere Street, Winthrop, Mass., for the 2 open positions of E911 dispatcher, and to grant both individuals a waiver from the residency requirements set forth in Administrative Code Part 4, Section 112.01. Both individuals have previous dispatching experience and training, and they both will be able to start work expeditiously. Copies of background material on these 2 candidates are attached. In accordance with Section 112.02, I request that you provide me with any comments on the proposed waiver within 7 days.
Under suspension, if there are no objections.
Accept and file the communication. If there's no objection.
Notice of waiver intent. Dear councilors, I am writing to notify you of my intention to grant the residency waiver to current DPW employee John Pizzatoro. Mr. Pizzatoro is planning to relocate from Chelsea to Peabody to live with other family members because of rising rents. He has been unable to find an affordable alternative in Chelsea. Mr. Pizzatore is a valuable member of our DPW team, and we would like to keep him. In accordance with the new Administrative Code, Part 4, Section 112.02, I request that you provide me with any comments on the proposed waiver within 7 days.
Notice of waiver intent. Dear councilors, I'm writing to notify you of my intention to grant a residency waiver to current Treasury employee Giuseppe Lorenzo Recupero. Because of family circumstances, Mr. Recupero must leave his current Chelsea address, and he has been unable to find alternative housing in the city. He will be relocating to Everett. Mr. Recupero has been a valuable employee for the city. We wish to retain his services. For this reason, I intend to grant the request for a waiver of the residency requirement. In accordance with the new Administrative Code, Part 4, Section 112.02, I request that you provide me with any comments on this proposed waiver within 7 days. Councilor Garcia accepts and files the communication.
The last communication from the city manager, traffic study of Park Square. This past June, the City Council approved an appropriation from free cash for the purpose of conducting a comprehensive traffic study of the area of the city known as Park Square, the Park Street, Pearl Street, Cross Street, and Congress Avenue intersection. This unsignalized area and major school walking route is both congested and dangerous. The goal of the study is to identify potential solutions to improve traffic flow and safety. The city has now finalized its contract with the engineering group Tech to perform this traffic study. A copy of the Tech scope of work is attached. Tech will analyze the existing conditions and then propose and design recommended solutions in consultation with the city and the general public. Tech has requested an opportunity to meet with the City Council early in the process to discuss the study. Further, Tech has already identified some relatively simple lane marking improvements that it wishes to pilot during the study period. The changes will help to inform Tech's decision-making on permanent solutions. However, before seeking Traffic Commission approval from such interim lane marking change, we would like to preview them with the City Council. Accordingly, I am writing to request that a subcommittee meeting be scheduled in the near future to discuss the Tech study and pilot changes. At the same meeting, if the Council desires, we would have a broader discussion about potential traffic and parking changes in the city, including the changes that the city recommended to the City Council in June. A copy of those proposed changes is also attached.
If there are no objections, and please move this to a subcommittee in conference.
Okay. Councilor Garcia moves this to a subcommittee in conference.
Communications and petitions to the council. We have a copy of a communication received from the Traffic Parking Clerk Jeanette Cintron White regarding the actions approved at the October 1st, 2019 Traffic and Parking Commission meeting.
Communication on the suspension, if there are no objections.
Counselor Robinson accepts and files communication under suspension if there's no objection.
We
So
have in
done.
receipt of a communication from Council President Vido. Dear councilors, this time has come for an annual performance of the city manager. I will be assembling a small subcommittee to perform the evaluation. Priority will be given to councilors that were not part of the subcommittee in the previous evaluation. Please let Lydia know if you are interested in participating.
Accept the communication, and I know the president is going to be asking folks again, as the statement says, to send her a notice if you're interested in being on this evaluation committee.
Counselor Brown accepts the communication. and will send notification if you are interested in being in the committee.
New business. First order under new business, Councilor Vido introduced order that the Chelsea City Council hereby approves a conflict of interest exemption pursuant to the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 20B, for the part-time position of clerk to the school committee to be held by Mary Ann Seha, effective immediately.
Counselor Garcia moves to accept and file the communication if there's...
Roll call.
Oh, roll call vote. There we go. Counselor Garcia makes the motion for roll call vote.
Councilor Garcia.
Yes.
Councilor Vido absent. Councilor Avellaneda. Yes. Councilor Rodriguez.
Yes.
Councilor Lopez.
Yes.
Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Councilor Pilatanda. Yes. Councilor Tahada.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Bishop. And Councilor Recupero. 10 in favor, none opposed, 1 absent. The motion is granted. Next order introduced by Councilor Vido.
Should we go with that one?
Whereas the Chelsea City Council has the authority to adopt municipal zoning ordinances that encourage the most appropriate use of land throughout the city, and whereas City of Chelsea wishes to adopt new zoning rules to provide greater opportunity in the city for the vehicle storage use required by residents and the general economy of the city, and now therefore be it ordained that the revised code of ordinances of the City of Chelsea as amended be further amended and adopted as follows. An ordinance revising Part 2, Chapter 30 of the Chelsea Code of Ordinances as follows. Amendment to Chapter 34, Article 10, definitions be amended by adding to Section 34, 241 definitions, a new definition which shall read as follows. Section 34-241 definitions, storage of vehicles for hire or return from hire means an area set aside for the storage of vehicles that are hired for a period of time for the purpose of transporting passengers, including but not limited to vehicles owned by rental car companies, taxi cab businesses, or transportation network companies. Amendment 2, the Chapter 34, Article 13, the Table of Principal Use Regulations, Section 34-300, by changing the use of storage vehicles for hire or return from hire as follows. Refer it to the zoning board? Schedule a public hearing?
Yes, I refer to the zoning board and schedule a public hearing on the matter.
Okay. Counselor Robinson
board. Planning board.
Planning board.
Planning board.
will send it to the planning board, schedule a public hearing.
And schedule a public hearing? Yes.
on which-
Right. Pardon me? Well, what I just read is being referred to the planning zoning, for zoning change. Amendment. They'll come back to you with their results, and then we have a board meeting, a public hearing, and then you vote on it.
I think Councilor Bishop added something to that.
He did. It's automatic second reading anyway.
Okay, thanks.
Let's see, wait a minute. Go ahead.
We'll choose that one.
Okay, 12. Where's,
Which road are we looking at?
this one here, 12C, C.
All right. Ordinance introduced by Councilor Vido regarding a zoning amendment to the Community Improvement Trust Fund. Whereas...
Refer it, and schedule a
wait.
public hearing, Bob? Okay.
Okay, Councilor Bishop moves to waive the reading.
We're referring it to the planning board, and we'll schedule a public hearing.
Okay, I think,
this is an ordinance. Whereas, order introduced by Council Vido, whereas the Chelsea City Council has authority to adopt ordinances to protect the health, safety, and welfare of all residents of the city of Chelsea, whereas the city of Chelsea wishes to regulate yard sales in a manner that works to benefit of residents. Now therefore be it ordained that the revised Code of Ordinances of the City of Chelsea as amended be further amended as follows. An ordinance revising Part 2, Chapter 14, Article 10, Section 14-422 of the Chelsea Code of Ordinances. Amendment 1, that Chapter 14, Section 14-422 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Chelsea, Mass. Is hereby amended as follows, by adding a new subsection A5 that reads as follows. 5, operators of a residential yard sale shall be entitled to this exemption only if the operator obtains a permit for each yard sale from the licensing administrator of the Licensing Commission. The permit shall be required solely for tracking and enforcement of this exemption. These changes shall take effect immediately. Roll call
Okay,
vote.
we'll move this to a roll call vote.
Councilor Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Vido absent. Councilor Avellaneda?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Lopez?
Yes.
Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Councilor Pilatanda?
Yes.
Councilor Tahada?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Bishop?
Yes.
Councilor Recupero?
Okay, order introduced by Councilor Lopez and Councilor Recupero. Request that the city manager and DPW commissioner look into a way to replace street and sidewalks on Marlborough Street from Broadway all the way to Grove Street. Take a motion, Mr. Lopez?
Suspension, if there's no objection, I would like to speak on it.
Okay, you may speak on it, accept and file under suspension. No objections.
I put this order because I think it's long overdue, Marlborough Street. Marlborough Street is in bad shape, and I think we need to fix the sidewalks and the road. And that's why I put this for, and I hope we can do it as soon as possible. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak on it?
Next order introduced by Councilor Lopez and Councilor Recupero. A request that the city manager and DPW commissioner look into a way to replace street and sidewalks on East Side Ave from Willow to Highland Street. Is that Eastern Ave? It says East Side. Is that Eastern Ave? East Side?
You have the floor, Councilor.
This area is in bad need of doing this sidewalks. That area was so small, and it's next to the Boys and Girls Club. Kids go through that little area. A few years ago, me and Councilor Lopez had to get a light, which was never there. We put a light in that area. So now, we would like if the city at least puts a nice sidewalk and a nice street. It's a very small area. It can't be no more than maybe 500 yards. Not less than that. It's a small street from one to the other. That whole area is in need of that. For many years, it wasn't taken care of. Now, with the help of the city council and the city manager, maybe, and the commissioner, we will have it done. I hope it will be done, and the kids will thank you for it. Thank you.
Order introduced by Councilor Robinson. A request that the city manager report to the council how many variances have been granted over the last 2 years. Councilor Robinson? Adopt under suspension, if no objections. Like to speak on it? No? Order introduced by Councilor Pilatanda, a request that the traffic and parking remove one of the parking spaces in City Hall parking lot close to the City Hall entrance and make it a handicap parking space. Councilor Pilatanda?
To adopt under suspension and speak on it.
Adopt under suspension. You have the floor, Councilor.
It's been brought to my attention there doesn't seem to be enough handicap spots for, handicap accessible for people trying to enter City Hall. I figured that if we could make it a space, that's 3 or 4 spaces that are in front of the stairwell there, that 30-minute spaces, maybe we can take one of them aside and make it a handicap accessible parking spaces. With even councils coming to meetings during the week, there's nowhere for us to park, let alone people that are handicapped. So making something more handicap accessible would be better for them. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak on it? Councilor Bishop, you have the floor.
I think the only problem is that those spaces that are not handicap, there's no handicap accessible entrance there. That's why they have 3 over here by that ramp and 1 or 2 over here by the ramp in the back. I don't know if legally you can have them in a parking lot where there's no entrance for the handicap. It makes people think there's a way for them to get into the building when there isn't.
When there's no parking there as well, I don't know.
Okay, anyone else? Order introduced by Councilor Recupero. I request that the city manager consider naming at the next opportunity possibly a park or city-owned lot that would require a name, the name of the late Jimmy Bear Burke, longtime participant in youth activities. Councilor Recupero, you have the floor. Adopt under suspension, and you have the floor to speak.
Mr. Burke was a great person. People that knew Mr. Burke would understand why something needs to be named after him. He took care of all the less fortunate children of our city. When they couldn't afford for them to play sports, Mr. Burke will pay for them. When they couldn't afford for them to have lunch, Mr. Burke will take them out and have lunch. And also, Mr. Burke was a long resident of this city. Not only that, he was a great mentor to many of children. He was a great mentor to my children. I remember what he used to do. Back in the days, it wasn't that easy. Even I had a lot of children, so Mr. Burke used to come and take care of my children, and he would pick them up and take them to the school and play football or baseball, whatever they wanted to do. If anybody in the city knew who Mr. Bear Burke was, they would appreciate what this gentleman had done for the city. He was a great human being and a great person for someone to know, someone that the children can look up to and be proud of and emulate, because he was a great person. And I hope that the city manager considers doing something for this great gentleman of our city. Thank you.
Councilor Brown?
Thank you. I want to thank the council for bringing this forward. Mr. Burke, as we know, Bear was a person that dedicated a lot of time and a lot of effort into our youth here in the city of Chelsea. Not only him, his family also was right beside his side, supporting our different programs, pop football, and other activities. So I want to thank the council for bringing this here. And hopefully you can talk to the city manager and you can find a park. I just don't know if we have parks that we can name them, but I'm sure you can talk to the city manager and try to get some kind of ideas, even if you can do a bench or something to honor Bear Burke family and also his legacy of working with our youth. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Final order introduced by Councilor Bishop. Ordered that the city clerk of the city council prepare an attendance report for the members of the city council starting number 1, the number of city council meetings, regular or special, held in 2019, and the number each member attended. 2, the number of city council conferences held in 2019 and the number each member attended. Further ordered the clerk report as soon as possible, but take whatever time that is necessary to make this report available.
Councilor Bishop?
Move under suspension.
Okay, we're going to move it. And the suspension, would you like to speak on it? You good? Okay.
That's the last order. Any
All right.
announcements?
Public announcements? Councilor Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Just want to let folks know that there was a great event this past Saturday here in Chelsea, Chelsea Night Out. But we're not finished. Chelsea committee there's a committee that has been putting a very special event together. It's October 19th, I believe, from 12 to 6. Is it 12 to 6 p.m.? It should be coming out in the local newspaper. It's an event that they're going to shut off half of Broadway, not all of Broadway. It's going to be a family-free type of event where you can bring your family, you can bring your animals, your dogs and your cats, not chickens, here and have a good time. So I want to thank the committee for the work. I also want to thank our solicitor for her efforts also, and also reminding us that that event will take place on next week on the 19th.
Any other public announcements? All right, we have moved to a moment of silence.
A moment of silence for Mr. Bobby Dwyer, a great person, a person that was well-known within the city itself. He passed away last week unexpectedly. He was a great human being, and best wishes to his family. My condolences to them.
Please.
Actually, there were two reunions this weekend, combined the class of 67 and 68. Surprised as, in my class at 68, how many members that we lost. The same in 67. So that's for a moment of silence for them.
Moment of silence for all those members of Class 68 who passed on.
And 67.
And 67. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing no further business, this meeting is adjourned.